So when parameters are passed to methods, what happens is that typically you have your local variables inside your existing method, and when you pass parameters, so you have those local variables inside your method. When you pass it to another method, typically these parameters are simply copied over here. The copies of them are made, and when the method begins its execution, it basically finds all of these parameters to be already defined as local variables. This one, this one, this one, right? So, but parameters inside methods such as this price and product name are not made any kind of special type of variable. Yes, it's initialized from the outside of this method, but inside the method, you are free to do something like this. But perhaps this looks kind of silly, right? You're asking for someone to provide the parameter, and then you're intentionally or unintentionally change it to 0. I don't know, maybe you're doing it for debugging purposes, maybe, some kind of strange special cases. But normally, this should not be happening. Right? It's like, so to prevent this from happening, you can make stuff final over here, right? So you can just say, okay, when this happens, when the parameters are passed, let's just treat them as final parameters, which is, in this case, equivalent to the word constant, right? So if you know C or C++, the keyword for constant variable there is const, right? That's the keyword. In Java, the keyword is final. So now this is an error and will not compile. It will just simply say, no, I cannot change price for you because you said that it's final. So therefore, you're doing it by mistake, or you need to remove final. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Sometimes you can call another method, right? Sometimes you can call another method to obtain to modify this price, right? So that's okay. You don't have to really you really don't have to invent new variable name to modify this price by using some other method, maybe private method. So then of course you can remove final and not use final. I don't think I see a lot of people actually declaring local methods final. It's not an extremely widespread practice as far as I can know, but you can research it and use I'm sure you'll find places like maybe there's some programmer cookbook instructions for certain areas where your boss would want you to declare as a rule your method parameters as final, right? But so the final doesn't really impact the performance. It doesn't improve the performance in this situation. Doesn't really change much because still the copies of parameters have to be made in order to pass them. But at least you can ask the compiler to prevent changing them for you if you want to prevent that kind of mistake. But usually it's not a very hard line type of requirement on programmer's part. So typically you don't declare those final. But this is what's available. So these are the three different situations where the final modifier can be used. So here's an example of the final class, very similar to what we did, right? Then there's an example of the final method right there. So get version, right? So version returns the version, and perhaps you don't want anyone else to change this in any shape or form. So you declare this method final and say, okay, this is it. In this inheritance relationship, I have the method that I declare final, and therefore people will not be able to override it with their own version. And so final parameter is just like this in front of a specific parameter. And so we're done with the inheritance presentation finally, and so we can start focusing on, like I promised, on the aspects of the upcoming homework, which is pretty significant. So we need to talk about this homework next.